I don't think that the higher-ups at YouTube have a firm grasp on exactly what is happening in the community. They just see numbers. I think it's literally just as simple as that. A lot of my presence on the internet, a lot of what I do is essentially just creating content out of things that I would be doing anyway if I wasn't doing this for a living.
I actually don't even watch that many movies that often, but I will watch your review of a movie that I don't want to watch. Are we finally on like the downhill slope side of the superhero stuff, or are we in it forever?
People who like you will show up when they can, but people who hate you are going to show up every single time. There's an art to being a heel, and there are great, great heels that deliver a fair bit of entertainment to the people who hate them.
Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown, the home of Make Something Mean Something. It is TCU night, Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. We are live on Discord with our patrons, our infantry, our dumpster crew, our $2 tots, our illustrious baby gang, and some lurkers, because we have a very exciting guest tonight. Is that not right? With me, as always, is Matthew Taver.
Yeah, we do. And on a scale of 1 to 10, our guest tonight is a 10, but he's closer to an 11 than he is a 9. 60-some thousand years ago, our guest's Neanderthal ancestor lumbered into a Spanish cave to see a fellow tribesman's painting. He called it embarrassingly primitive, criticized the artist for not hunting instead, and then just grunted that it sucked. And now the result of that bloodline has spent the last 11 years letting the entire world know that your movie sucks. Adam, a.k.a. yourmoviesucks.org, and also YMS, it also has one of the best Twitter handles on the platform, Too Gay to Lift, and he's developed an utterly inimitable style for reviewing movies on YouTube. And you'll know instantly that you've clicked on one of his notoriously tough critiques if you've ever been bludgeoned by a half-second spastically spinning fair use disclaimer, coupled with a smiley face emoji and a 3-note jingle of an earworm that bores into your amygdala. You're just as likely to get a scathing dissection of the latest Hollywood blockbuster as a rundown on obscure film festival indies. And it might be a 7-minute quick hit on why The Eternal sucks, or it might be a shockingly complete 2-hour, 27-minute dissection of Kimba the White Lion. That video has 55 chapters. We counted every one. But videos are not enough. Adam further discusses films on his podcast, Sardonicast, alongside co-hosts I Hate Everything, Alex and Ralph the Movie Maker. And you can also check out his gaming playthroughs on his Adam Plays channel. Look, anyone can be a critic, and quite a few people are, but very few people can jump from superhero movies to kids' movies to horror to something you've never even heard of. Do it capably, and do it on the most unforgiving platform for over a decade. But before we get into the state of Hollywood and its critics, let's start with the state of YouTube. And this is even better if you're in the Discord and you can see the shirt that Adam's wearing. We wanted to point out that YouTube has recently launched a creator resources webpage featuring the mukbang glutton Nikocado Avocado, who has in just a few years gone from being a sweet boy playing the violin to violently defecating himself from eating too many flaming hot Cheetos, and revealing everything just short of a colonoscopy on his OnlyFans. This was somehow meant to help and inspire creators in 2022. So, Adam, you're wearing a shirt with his face all over it. I see 7 or 8. Is there a worse person for YouTube to promote? And if so, who is it?
A worse person? Nah, Nicocado's great. He knows exactly what he's doing. The solution, if you don't want to see Mr. Avocado eat himself to death, would be to stop watching him, but nobody's doing that. Everyone's feeding into exactly what he wants. Yeah, he's completely self-aware. All of his emotional outbursts are staged. He has a fetish for feederism or whatever. I don't know what it's called, right. But he has a feeder fetish. He wants to get fat. And he also has a humiliation fetish, probably. So yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that. It's funny. I find it more funny how everyone's upset about it. That's what really makes Nikocado Avocado fun for me, is just how mad everyone is. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be wearing the shirt.
That's definitely half the entertainment with him. I did wonder what the takeaway was meant to be when they propped him up as like a how-to guide for YouTube.
He's a trending creator. I think it's as simple as that. I don't think that the higher ups at YouTube have a firm grasp on exactly what is happening in the community or how people feel or think. They just see numbers, and when they look at the numbers, they're like, "Oh, this person's getting numbers." I think it's literally just as simple as that.
Yeah, I can personally attest to the fact that people who work for YouTube have no idea what's happening on YouTube. They don't know who the creators are. They don't know what they do. They don't know that, Nikocado does this, that, or the other thing. They just see, oh, this is a person who gets a lot of views and likes to eat food, and that seems like a lot of fun. That seems fun.
Mm-hmm.
Let's promote that person alongside this beauty guru, this girl who makes funny cakes. You know what I mean? Like,
great.
to them, it's all the
so
same.
Funny.
It's the same.
I like this timeline. It's very amusing.
Yeah. Well, I totally understand your perspective on it, where it becomes this kind of what would you say? Not vaudevillian, but kind of like it's like a circus sort of thing. Who is it? P.T. Barnum. That's who I'm thinking of. Is Nikocado like a P.T. Barnum-esque character where it's so over the top? There's like a hint of, like, I don't know, professional wrestling, sort of, the dramatics there. There's just a lot of things going on there.
Yeah, it's I consider the entire country of the United States of America to be a bit of an amusement park, right? It's like everything's sensationalized and over the top, and every once in a while you get people that are actually honest about it. So
right.
Which state is your favorite ride?
Oh boy. Well, I haven't visited every state. I really, LA sucks. I know that's not a state, but California, it's where I've been in California. Mm-hmm. Washington's fine. It's the most familiar to me. It feels like Vancouver. So
yeah, Washington is
like Washington.
Pretty Canada-y. Has a lot of nature. Yeah. It's very pretty. Vancouver is a very pretty city. It's like
where the Twilight movies are set.
I did not know that. I haven't seen those. I want to stay on YouTube for a second, though, before we start, getting into movies and reviewing and all of that, because I have noticed several high-profile run-ins that you've had with YouTube over your videos being taken down, or I'm not sure if it was copyright strikes or what was going on, but it seems like that happens to you more than anybody that at least I'm mutuals with on Twitter that I see on a regular basis. What's going on there?
Well, I don't know. I also have more channels than anybody, so that might be part of it. Yeah, it really depends on the issue. So, yeah, copyright claims are annoying. There's one issue that I'm dealing with on YouTube right now that I'm I'm trying to carefully figure out in my own head before making a video on it, because they're not fixing the issue. And in order for me to make public the issue, I would be kind of unintentionally or inadvertently teaching people how to do an exploit, which I don't want to do. But then it's like, how do I explain what my problem is without doing that? And then I'm thinking, like, I don't know, would they like delete my channel or screw me in the algorithm? Probably. So I have to figure out what I need to do about that situation. But they're not. It's been like over a year and they haven't fixed it, and it's really annoying.
Is it an exploit that you take advantage of that you don't want them to fix?
It's literally how to steal someone else's subscribers. It's literally there's a channel that someone owns and operates that has subscribers that I had built up, and they haven't fixed it, and it's really annoying. It sounds crazy, I know. It doesn't make any sense. It has to do with the what is it called? Owned and operated channels versus the automatically generated channels. They're called topic channels for music. And I guess one of the things that you forgot to plug at the beginning is I also do music. And so I have a music channel on YouTube, and somebody started creating music under the same artist name as me, and then merged their topic channel into a owned and operated channel, which YouTube allows people to do just so they could everything gets automatically put on a channel through YouTube in the same way that if you had it on Spotify or iTunes, it would create like an artist page. So YouTube does that too, and that's called the topic channel. And then you can convert that into an owned and operated channel, one that you've created. Someone else converted my music, which on the topic channel had like 650 subscribers or something. Somebody took that and created their own owned and operated channel with it, where I'm still generating the revenue from those songs, but they now own and operate a channel with 650 subscribers that I had built up that were subscribed to hear more of my music, and YouTube hasn't done shit about it. And I don't know how to, it's very frustrating. It's very upsetting. It's actually legitimately depressing. Yeah. And it's not even like, 650 subscribers. Like that's not a lot in comparison to other channels that I have, obviously. And I do own and operate my own music channel independently of the topic channel that I had there. But it's kind of the principle of the thing where those people subscribe to see my shit. Why does somebody else own and operate a channel that the subscribers are merged to now that I have no access to and I can't control? So like that's really fucked up. Why would they allow that to happen?
And when you've reached out, have you gotten any response at all? Because this seems like a pretty
over the course of like
scenario.
Over the course of like a year and a half, basically, it's been like delays of communication and them being like, "Oh, we'll transfer this to somebody else," and then ultimately, after well over a year of them not solving it, I was like, "Okay, well, maybe I got to sue the guy that, or at least create like a cease and desist for the guy that." Is publishing music under the same band name as me, who lives in the same country as me, who already was aware that I was publishing music under that name, but his excuse was, "Oh, I thought you had just stopped," or something, which is just bullshit. And I was being way too nice about it by not, lawyering up and sending a cease and desist in the first place. Like I was just trying to solve this in some other way. And also it's just like way too much stress and money and so, the conversation after. Part of the problem of them not being able to solve it is I wasn't exactly sure what had happened anyway. I didn't know the difference between an owned and operated channel and a topic channel. I didn't understand that this person had converted my topic channel into and merged it with their own owned and operated channel. I didn't understand that until like well over a year had passed, and I had to like figure this shit out on my own. And so YouTube being unhelpful was also because like they didn't understand the situation and it was very complicated. But eventually I mentioned in the email that I had got a lawyer because I'm like fed up at this point. And I didn't say, "Hey, I'm going to sue YouTube" or anything. The reason why I lawyered up was for the guy that was doing my owned and operated channel. And I mentioned that in the email because like I don't know what to do anymore. And I've been doing this for like well over a year, just trying to get this resolved, and nothing's been working. And so their response to that was like, "Oh, well, since you've mentioned that this is now a legal dispute, we're only going to be communicating with you through our legal department." And then they didn't send anything back, and they just essentially said, "We're not helping you anymore." So now it's like, well, what the fuck do I do? I've clearly made YouTube aware of this like exploit, right? So what do? Do I blow it up? Will they get pissed at me and say that like I'm teaching people how to steal other people's subscribers? Like they're just allowing it to happen. It's fucking bullshit. I'm so mad. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, this is an insane situation. I kind of think, well, I don't want to push you over the edge to make a poor decision, but I kind of feel like you should make this video, man. Like this is such an insane situation. There's absolutely no
merged my own music with my owned and operated channel to make it an artist channel, which is what happens when you merge those things. The reason why I never did that is because when you look at artist channels, you can't sort them by most viewed. You lose a lot of features. It's really stupid. I don't know why. Go to like any music channel of like any major artist. You can't click on sort by most popular videos or anything like that. So it's like I didn't have any incentive to merge it with another channel and create an artist channel because it's worse, in my opinion. I don't like it like that. Little did I know that it was just I was ripe for the picking for somebody else to do that and I guess take my subscribers. Right now, there's artist channels of like composers that I like, and I noticed like, wow, they have like tens of thousands of subscribers, and they're a topic channel. So anybody could just like show up and start producing music under the same name, under like DistroKid or whatever. Like, oh, I'm going to use the same name. They're not going to stop them because they didn't stop the guy doing that to me. And then, yeah, I guess fucking then convert your topic channel as it's merged to your owned and operated channel, and you'll steal tens of thousands of subscribers from somebody. It's that simple. Like I don't know why they allow people to do this. This is really upsetting.
I don't know. Right. I'm going to start dropping some new music under the name Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Some new beats from Bach. I don't know. I'm on team blow it up. That's where I'm at on this issue.
This seems like one of those exploits that needs to come out so that they really take a minute to fix it, because I know what has happened to you is bad and that sucks, but like in the grand scheme, it's not the kind of thing where like they're taking your other channels and your whole account and they're like whatever. Like it could be worse is my point.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling like as long as there's an exploit, there's a way for it to get worse. Who knows what Possibly. That way is? Yeah, and I just feel like
one out before the year's over. So
yeah, I also just
by the way, in our defense, you said that we didn't mention the music. There are like 19 links of things that you do in the descriptions.
It wasn't a serious criticism. I was kind of joking.
No, I know, but I'm saying it mostly so people understand that. You're like, oh, it's going to take me a month to make this video. Yeah, because you have 200 things that you seem to do consistently.
It's
remarkable. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. It's incredibly prolific. Do you sleep much? Is it like are you like a Martha Stewart 4 hour a night kind of person?
Yeah, I try to get 8 hours or something. But yeah, I mean, a lot of my presence on the internet, a lot of what I do is essentially just creating content out of things that I would be doing anyway if I wasn't doing this for a living. But before I was on YouTube, I was watching movies, I was playing video games, I was making music. So just the same thing, just finding ways to turn that into content and promote and monetize it, I guess.
Well, we have a bit of a mantra here called make something mean something on this podcast. And you exemplify that for sure. To say, circling back a second on the YouTube thing, in terms of them like going rogue or something and being vindictive about you and your other channels, I assure you that no one that works there like cares enough about their job that they would do that. Like they don't care. The people that work there, they're there for like 2 or 3 years, and then they go start a startup in Silicon Valley. Like seriously, they don't take that job like the
I don't know
that we feel about us. They don't take it that precious at YouTube.
Pokimane released was just on her stream talking about how her numbers on her channel like just immediately dropped after she signed like a contract with Twitch or something. It seems like somebody got pissed off there. Maybe that's conspiratorial. Fox and Space Show, as of like 1 or 2 days ago, on the YouTube removing dislikes video, I think he left. I forget what the comment said. Something like "what a hand job." After that moment, every single comment he's left site wide on that account disappears after 30 seconds. He's documented this on his YouTube channel. So I don't know. Maybe this is all just explainable in some other way, but it seems like there are tools available at YouTube to just be vindictive and annoying to people if they want to be. Not like they're like a single entity. It might just be one employee or something. I don't know how this works, but I don't know. At the same time, it's like it's my entire livelihood, so perhaps there is some justification to feeling like a little scared about it. So.
Sure. Especially if maybe the best route is to solve it directly with the person who's wronged you.
Oh yeah, they've stopped responding to me too. They're a fucking asshole. They're like, YouTube gave me this channel. What, would you give me your channel if you're like, blah. They're such a fucking piece of shit. And I have their real name and everything, and I'm a fucking saint for not doxing them.
Yeah. I was wondering
you should just have their name and picture in like in the bottom corner of the video that you make. Just leave it there the whole time like a watermark.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I want to get on to movie stuff because that's how I know you primarily. I've been watching your movie reviews for literal years. So it's awesome to have you on the show. It's awesome to talk to you, face to face, Discord to Discord for the first time, because I went to school for film, but after I graduated, I don't want to say I was like burnt out on movies, but I just watched so much during those 4 years that I wasn't as interested in it anymore. So I actually don't even watch that many movies that often, but I will watch your review of a movie that I don't want to watch, which I think is a weird thing. I was thinking about this morning. Like, I don't read reviews of like restaurants I'm never going to go to, or like music albums I'm never going to listen to, or I don't know, power drills I'm never going to buy. Like, what else do people write reviews of? But with you and with a couple of other,
that's it. Those are the only things that anybody ever writes a review of.
Yeah, exactly. But with you and a couple of other people on YouTube, I love watching just like the eviscerations that occur of these movies and TV shows sometimes. I don't know why I find it so much more entertaining. Do you have any thoughts as to why it works so well as entertainment and not just like a utilitarian sort of service you're providing to let people know whether or not a movie is worth your time and money?
Because it's transformative, and it's, if I were merely just saying whether or not you should check out a movie, or if, let's say, I was doing like a thorough essay of a film, like I could be doing that on print media. But what I'm also creating here, or what I hope to be creating, is some form of entertainment. And that's, in video format is the way that I best express myself. So, things like the music choices, things like the pacing of my reviews, the editing, the timing, how punchlines are delivered. I'm creating art out of a different piece of art. So yeah, I mean that's the big difference, right? Is something like my amusement review. Like, there's so many editing jokes in there that you can't really just get that from watching the film. Watching a breakdown done in a comedic way is going to provide an entirely different experience than watching the film. So.
Yeah, because like the Eternals, I'm never going to watch that. there's 0% chance, unless I'm on an airplane and that's the only thing to do, then maybe I will watch Eternals. But I watched that review that you made of it instantly, and it was awesome. And I can't really think of anything in a similar boat to that as like entertaining movie reviews. And I couldn't really crack like what it is that makes them so watchable, aside obviously from your sense of humor and the editing and stuff like that. But maybe there's just like a little bit of making fun of Hollywood that I really enjoy.
I think a lot of people love hearing me shit on Hollywood and Disney, and yeah. Why
do you think that is? What, they're just like the power dynamics, or what?
People are fed up with it. Nobody's watching the Oscars anymore. Every single awards show is like, get world record all-time lowest ratings ever. Like, they're struggling to keep people interested because nobody cares about them anymore. People are critical of this, and not to say like, oh yeah, screw the entire industry or anything, but I think people are waking up to like the inherent phoniness of a lot of aspects of the industry, which I don't think is a bad thing. A lot of the types of films that I wind up promoting on my channel are independent foreign art house things anyway. So in the same sense that AAA gaming is a monstrosity right now, all the best games that come out in a year for the past few years have all been indie games, right? Like Undertale, like Minecraft broke records. Like that's where to pay attention in the gaming industry. But since self-publishing is so easy with Steam, it's really easy to pay attention there. With movies, it's a bit different because there's the theatrical model, and advertising is a bit different for films too. It's not as easy to self-publish on a platform like iTunes, and if you're doing a streaming service, like, you still have to get approved, and there's a lot of red tape. So it's not as easy for consumers to be directly informed about how to find smaller independent films. But I think that the sentiment is the same when it comes to the both the film and the video game industry, where I would say a lot of the big budget studio stuff is a bunch of nonsense and really predatory business practices, etc. And where to look for the good quality stuff is the independent scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had Andrew Bowser on the podcast, who is also known as Onyx the Fortuitous, and he is making his own feature-length film of his character, Onyx the Fortuitous, which he kickstarted successfully, which we were all thrilled about and helped him support. Awesome. But it's so hard. I mean, what we learned speaking with Andrew is just, it is so hard. Like, I know personally people who are making video games, but to make your own feature film it seems like such a ridiculously expensive and daunting and like never-ending task. That barrier to entry on film seems like such a freaking high bar to clear.
And yet it's becoming easier every day. Equipment's getting cheaper, quality equipment and computers and video editing software. People can animate entire computer animated sequences basically by themselves if they have the know-how. Sean Baker filmed Tangerine on an iPhone 4. That was a wildly successful film. It depends on the type of movie you want to make. Most people aren't necessarily going to want to shoot a film on their iPhone. A lot of the challenges that come with film production are also having to do with like a pool of talent, dependable people. A lot of the times people will either be dependable and not talented or talented and not dependable. So it's there's a lot of challenges associated with filmmaking, and a lot of that just has to do with organization and working with other people is the big daunting task of finding a crew that you can actually trust that isn't going to screw the whole thing up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And film, I think itself, like Kino Corner, who's in the chat right now, did a full-length movie on film itself. And I had been, whenever I watch movies lately, it's like old movies that I should have watched a long time ago that are classics that I'm like, okay, I'm finally going to watch this. And a lot of them were shot on film. And there's such a different quality. I know this is like, I'm sorry that you have a film podcast, so you probably are like bored with this conversation, but I don't get to talk about it. Fine. So please bear with me. Please just indulge me here. There's just kind of like a tonal warmth and visual difference to actual film than digital that I love. And I don't know if it's like a nostalgia thing because I grew up with that. What do you think about that?
This is actually an amazing time of year, and it has nothing to do with the holidays. It's the end of Q4, and that means everybody is about to start fresh in January. Fix your problems, build on your success, it's all valid, and for employers, it's probably going to happen with new people. 770 million people are on LinkedIn right now, and if 0.001% of them are a good fit for a position you need to fill, that means you've got nearly 8,000 people who are perfect matches. You only need one. So post a job, screen the candidates, and pop the question. This is the amazing thing about LinkedIn Jobs. It helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know that every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/create. That's linkedin.com/create to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Look, the people who want to move on to something better are gearing up to do that in January. Take advantage of it. Do not miss out on talent. If you need to hire, then hire. LinkedIn.com/create.
There is a difference. I appreciate when film is used for like stylistic purposes, or if it's like a period piece, they're like, oh, we're going to film it how it would have been filmed in this time period sort of thing. I always love that. I don't see film as being inherently better than digital. I think digital is great, especially for allowing the amount of voices in filmmaking to increase exponentially. Just the ease of access and affordability is amazing. I don't see, I don't see digital looking inherently worse than film visually. It's it looks different. I don't really have a preference, so
okay.
I'm not a purist like Quentin Tarantino, I guess.
I mean, why couldn't 3 years from now there'd be a button to push, like a filter that just filmized digital. I mean, is that possible down the pike?
I believe that's entirely possible. You'd just have to get a computer algorithm to like interpret differences in film versus digital, and then apply those differences in a filter. As soon as that exists, which I mean, it already probably does, it just probably doesn't look that great. And if you're a person, I don't know, if you're a director that is creating a project that has that sort of requirement for it artistically, then at that point it's like, well, why don't you just do film? Unless you're like an indie director that you have to do it for budgetary reasons, sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also wonder, I saw this hilarious tweet a while back talking about the VHS digital effect versus what VHS actually looked like.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very different.
It was so funny because it was so true that when you see these VHS digital effects, they're just so over the top and like almost cartoonish.
I've never been convinced by a digital VHS effect. When Tim and Eric shot their show, Dr. Steve Brule, and the whole thing looks like a crazy VHS weird thing. Apparently, this is what I heard, they ran everything back through a VHS tape and then would smash the top of it as it's playing and record that to get that genuine effect. So.
Oh my gosh.
You know, next week we can go into detail, Kevin, with Weird Paul, because he spent so many years working with VHS, including the videos he put on YouTube early on. That was all done on VHS, and you know, you really can tell. I hadn't thought about it before you two were discussing this, that it's similar, but it's not the same thing. And Kevin mentioned the Kino Corner earlier. You know, we did an episode with him a while back. He's in the chat now. He says that there are plugins that do this kind of effect, but they don't completely work, and points out that film picks up light differently than digital. And that's the kind of thing that somebody like me, who doesn't make anything, doesn't understand. You know, I don't know what the difference is. I know it's a little bit different visually, but I don't know why. And there really is that difference between fake, you know, it's like the Impossible Whopper of film. You know, it's real close, but
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like at the end of the day, what we're seeing is going to be interpreted through like a computer screen anyway. Like even if you're watching like a something that's shot on film, chances are you're not watching like the actual like 35 millimeter or 85 millimeter reel or whatever, right? Like you're still watching like a digital projection of that or a digital version of that. I don't know. It wouldn't seem out of place for a computer to eventually be able to, I guess, compensate for whatever's missing in film and apply that to something shot digitally, even if it is even if it is relating to like exposure and lighting. I feel like computers would be able to compensate for that in the future.
Yeah, there's a dirtiness too, though, that I wonder. Maybe this is just me, but I find there to be some charm in some of the older. I'm not even talking about like, you know, extremely old movies, but you know, 70s. Where that shot is friggin' dirty, like, or like this was like lit, like something went wrong here, and that's what they had, so they had to use it. Like I definitely, for me, find that to be a feature, not a bug. Like I like that, you know.
Tell that to Sam Raimi. He's
why? What does he say?
Well, because he's made a bunch of digital changes to his original Evil Dead film. There's a video on my highlights channel talking about it. If you just search like YMS Evil Dead changes or whatever, it's really annoying because all of the authenticity and charm from the original film is lost, in my opinion. So
because he quote unquote fixed it.
Yeah, but he didn't even like advertise it that way. He just kind of pretended it was the same movie. He kind of just sneakily did that, and so you can't get a Blu-ray or 4K. Like there's no HD version of the original film that exists. It's just the DVD is the best version. Yeah,
he George Lucas'd it and
exactly
slammed some CGI Jabba the Hutt scene in there.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of big directors, I really, really, really wanted to ask your opinion of, I mean, I guess the Scorsese thing is really old at this point, but recently Ridley Scott came out with some quote about, I don't know, like millennials and their dang fangled cell phones don't want to watch movies that are any good or something. What was your take on that whole situation?
He's a boomer. He directs movies so quickly that he doesn't actually put any like genuine blood, sweat, and tears and care into it anymore anyway. Like, he's complaining about a movie that's existing in theaters this year as his other movies is being released in theaters right now. So what was it? The Last Duel was the one he's complaining nobody's watching.
Though, and I think back to we've talked to a bunch of people who have fewer subscribers than others, and they're amazing. You know, it happens on YouTube where you can do these great things and nobody's watching, and then really shitty stuff will get 5 or 6 million views. Who knows? Well, I knew a novelist decades ago who was best friends with a very famous, successful novelist. These two guys were both writing, and I don't know if one was better than the other, but they were both at least at the same level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of them had this legendary career, and the other, you can't even buy his used books anywhere because the circulation was so low. Nobody's selling them used. Like, they don't exist. What's the difference between these two people? I don't know. It's not like people only wanted to read bad books because the other guy's books were quite good. But some people just don't seem to accept that you can make something that's decent and it flops or it dies or whatever.
That's why you just got to keep making.
I don't know. I personally, I blame cell
Scorsese
phones.
said all that. I just
cell phones
Ridley
didn't exist,
Scott.
everybody would have seen The Last Duel. And also, like, whatever, millennials. Like, why does that matter? There's other generations that could have seen the movie. Fucking boomers could have seen the movie. Zoomers could have seen it. Like, why are you still using the term millennials when, like, what is the cutoff right now? Like, the youngest millennials, what? Like, at least 25, right? How old's the youngest millennial right now? We're not even talking about kids anymore. That's how out of touch he is.
No, it goes from like 24 to 39 or something.
Yeah, they're not children.
Yeah, I think he meant to say Zoomers. And even so, it's not an argument.
Even if he'd gotten it right, it just would have been more wrong.
Yeah.
He should have blamed the TikTok. That's what, like, the whippersnappers are doing with their time, is they're on the TikTok. That's what he should have said.
That's right.
Like, to blame cell phones is like the boomerest thing. That's why I died when I read that. I was like, is it 1999? Like, what year is this? Being like, oh, all of these kids with their pocket monsters and their pocket telephones.
It's weird how he can't rationalize that his movie didn't look interesting, or I think also he's so blissfully unaware of, like, a lot of the production that goes into his movies, or I mean post-production, that he probably didn't even realize that it wasn't marketed properly. He probably just thought, what, it's everybody's seen this trailer. Like, he probably just has no grasp on what the public is aware of. So,
oh, definitely. And to my own taste, seeing Matt Damon in like a suit of armor with that like weird goatee is really what kind of turned me off. Like, maybe I'll watch. I didn't even remember Matt Damon's in it. I could have. That might have been a fever dream. I might have just made up that whole thing. I don't know. It's possible. But
maybe.
Going back to Scorsese, are we and like the Eternals, and I don't even know what else has come out in the last year. Are we, in your estimation, finally on like the downhill slope side of the superhero stuff, or are we in it forever?
I don't know where the end of the slope
forever?
is. I don't think we're there. The new Spider-Man tickets are selling out really quickly, you know? So people are still excited for Marvel things. Eternals didn't make as much money as they wanted it to, that's for sure. But again, that's just a specific brand anyway. That's not like a genre. I think the genre is doing fine. Right. I think if Zack Snyder makes a sequel to Justice League, people are going to watch it. You know, it's probably not going to be as popular as a Marvel movie, but you know, there's some demand and hype for these pre-existing superhero properties because, I mean, it's a really easy thing to promote. It's something that people are already into before the movie's made. People are there to see their characters that they already love reflected on the screen. You know, they're doing like a Blade remake now because that's a Marvel character. You know, like, so there's a never ending amount of these things. They're doing another Batman already. You know, we got another The Batman. So I don't know. They're just going to keep recycling it. It's up to the consumer to decide whether or not they want it. And as of right now, everybody is really excited for these things. So
yeah, I just don't see any end in sight, and wonder if this is just what movies are now. I mean, it seems like it. The reboots, you have reboots, you have superhero movies, and then you have like the occasional giant name director makes a thing.
Yeah, you have a Christopher Nolan that makes money no matter what he does, so the studios will actually allow him to do original IPs.
Right. And then that's it. And then what do you make of like the Netflix quote unquote blockbuster movies? I have not watched a single one of those. I don't know, Matt, if you have. Are those
I gotta
all
think about what's exclusive on there.
Are those all terrible? Are those just like something you put on in the background? Like what's going on with those movies?
They're terrible. There's one called Red Notice that came out very recently.
It keeps popping up for me.
It's got Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. It's got Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, and it's got Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot. And that's all the movie needs, and that's all they know they need for people to watch it. And the script's awful. It's very, very, very awful and stupid and cringe. I watched half of it and gave up. So yeah,
Netflix keeps telling me that it's like number 6 in the US, though.
Yeah, I mean, Netflix is doing exactly what the market wants. You know, we might say, hey, this doesn't reflect what I want to see, but there's a lot of people that really like things that we don't like. And Netflix is following the majority in the same way that superhero films are following the majority. They're following trends that people want to see, regardless of whether or not we personally want to see them. To get back to your statement about, like, you know, you listed like sequels, remakes, superhero things, and then Christopher Nolan, and you said that's all there is. I would disagree with that, in the same way that if you were just listing off Battlefield, Halo Infinite, and only AAA developer like Rockstar, and said that's all games are. No, that's not true. There's a gigantic indie scene. It's just that for movies, it takes a bit more to get people to understand that it's there and understand how to find these things. There's a lot more effort on the consumer to be able to get to those things in the film industry as opposed to the gaming industry.
So what do you suggest?
I suggest watching my videos, and whenever I do a lot of my favorite movies of the year, are like around the film festival kind of stuff. I do,
but then
like,
what? What's the next step after that, Adam? Like, where do we go? The way I find movies that I like is I find artists, like individuals, like directors that I like, and I keep up with what they're doing. And if they are collaborating with somebody else and producing something, then I might be interested in that. That is a really easy first step that a lot of people just don't even do, is just know who directed the movie that they're going to be seeing. Like that's like a really easy first thing, but nobody does it. Right.
That's step one. And then beyond that, you can look at like maybe even writers or production company. Like people get excited for A24 things because it says A24 on it. So we're like kind of getting there. But even that, it's like they produce like a variety of content. They do have some sort of consistency, I guess, in terms of like producing kind of weird art housey, almost horror, but not really things, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, The Lighthouse I liked.
I love The Lighthouse.
That was really good. It's possible. Now, I don't remember because my brain is very flat and very smooth, but I might have watched The Lighthouse because of you. But I really did like that very, very, very much. I thought that was freaking excellent. It's such a journey watching that movie. It's like a visceral, weird experience. But is there a streaming service like the Criterion Channel or Shudder? Like, is there anything like in terms of that, or do you just buy the Blu-ray? Like, where does the access come from for all of these different obscure film or indie films?
A lot of them I just find through film festivals, and if I'm gonna buy it on home release, I prefer to have a Blu-ray. Unfortunately, you're not always gonna get one today. A lot of things are digital on streaming services or on iTunes or something. If it's on a streaming service that I don't own and I don't have any intention of owning, I'm just not gonna buy it. Unless they do a physical release or something. So Wolfwalkers was a really great movie. It's like a Apple TV exclusive, but they released like a Blu-ray limited edition thing, so I'm going to buy that instead of signing up for Apple TV. So yeah, it really depends. You have to do different things to get different movies. Lots of different rights holders and distributors, and there's no one place where you can get every film, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I want to ask you specifically about a specific independent film, rather. So, you talk about how you can get into some of these alternative films, things that aren't massive blockbusters from big studios, by following those directors and writers and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
What about a step before that? So, like if you tell, let's say I'm talking to my parents, I'm just like, give some of these independent films a try. They're going to say, okay, like what? And you want to suggest the one thing that's going to hook them. I remember 20 some years ago, somebody said, oh, you've never seen any anime type things? Watch Princess Mononoke.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing that you should watch if you've never seen any. What's the one indie film that you could give somebody that they would have never heard of, never seen before, that you think would inspire them to say, yeah, okay, it's worth the effort for me to follow these directors and writers?
Well, it depends how we define indie. Sometimes I'll think of film as an indie film and then it turns out not to be, or vice versa. Like Valerian and the Thousand Planets is apparently an indie movie. Like, I don't know how that. Yeah, it's like the most expensive indie movie ever or something. It doesn't make any sense. So it depends on how you classify it. But if I were to say like, art house, foreign, just not necessarily what is being promoted 24/7. The greatest examples of those are movies that started out small and then because people loved them so much they got big. Like everybody's seen Parasite now, right? Like. If somebody hasn't seen Parasite, that would be a one to recommend because it's just so universally accessible. Like it's really difficult to find people that don't like that movie. So yeah, I guess it might just be a way of, changing perspective on what is like a independent film or what is a out there kind of, non-conventional movie. When I recommend things to people, I try to do it based on what I know they already enjoy. I don't usually I don't like try to convert people into watching something that I know that they wouldn't like, and I instead try to find lesser known examples of things that they do like. So yeah, it's really just depends on a person's taste, I think.
My suggestion would be to give them a dirty bathtub water stained VHS copy of Gummo. And then they'll never be the same after that.
Kevin, you make that joke. That literally was the first thing that I think that either of you would consider to be, in that genre. Gummo, and this must have been the summer of 1999. It was. A kid was an aspiring filmmaker and was obsessed with Gummo. And so I got around to watching it. And that literally was my first foray into, non-major studio films.
There you go.
It was harrowing and it was awesome.
Just start with Gummo or like Happiness.
I don't know if I would recommend Gummo
Solom's.
as like, if you're trying to get people to watch like more indies, you have to watch Gummo and like truly enjoy it. I think you already have to have kind of an inkling or predisposition to want more weird out there stuff. I don't know if that's necessarily the one that's going to convert people.
No, I wouldn't give it to your mom. I'm not
going to give Gummo to my
It's a little weird.
No.
For sure. Or any Todd Solondz, any of his movies either.
Sometimes when people ask me about recommendations, I just try to look through my shelf and see if there's one that sticks out.
Spin the Tower.
You just spin it and then stop your finger on it.
Yeah, sometimes something will jump out to me.
For those listening on just audio, there is a tremendous media tower that Adam is spinning, and it is packed to the brim with Blu-rays. I know that, Matt, when you and I were talking earlier today about Adam, you had some questions about just being a reviewer, because this is really the first reviewer. Like, we've had people on the podcast that do reviews, but I wouldn't categorize them as that being one of the things they're mainly known for. Whereas, you know, Adam, as far as I'm concerned, is a legend in that arena. So,
thank you.
What sort of things were you thinking, Matt, when it comes to the challenges of reviewing stuff?
Yeah, I mean, that's an important distinction that Kevin makes, that there are a lot of people who review a thing, critique it, but it's not really what they're doing. You know, we've talked about the Kino Corner. He makes a lot of videos where he analyzes films, and there's just a difference between, somebody who says, this is what I do. I am a critic of film. I am whatever. Like, it's a unique path. And we talked in the past about this guy, Jerry Saltz, who's an art critic for the New Yorker, maybe. I might be wrong about that, but
so.
A fairly large one. Yeah, and he's got like 500,000 Twitter followers, whatever. And he had this tweet that got absolutely panned, that he said that a good critic puts more work into writing about art than the artist puts into making it, because the artist only creates. The critic has to plumb that creation and also write creatively enough to deliver the full volume of the art while also creating a thing of beauty and clarity itself. How does that square when you watch a movie and think about a movie? Because Jerry Saltz is probably a little too far in the camp of thinking that his job is the hardest thing, but he's not entirely wrong too, in that there's a very certain skill where you've got to understand this thing very, very well and then do the job of a critic. How did that develop for you?
I think of it less of necessarily understanding the film and more about like understanding my experience with the film. And I think in order to have any skill set, if you were to call reviewing or expressing your thoughts on a film to be a skill set, I think with anything like that, it requires introspection. It requires you to be self-critical, you know, like when I improve things about my reviews, I'm improving things about myself. I'm finding ways in which I can improve, in which I can better communicate myself, or, you know, anything like that, improve the pacing or my presentation, or maybe perhaps try to anticipate arguments that people would have against what I'm saying and try to diffuse those without also coming off as overly self-defensive. So it's all just like a balance of trying to understand yourself, trying to understand other people, and then trying to deliver that in a way where you don't sound like too much of an asshole. So there is, you know, I feel like I've gotten better over time. But if you care about something, then you'll get better at it over time. It's like as simple as that.
I love that you mentioned anticipating the arguments, because, well, that's something that we do on Vsauce too, a lot.
Oh my God.
It's a heavy.
That's half of it, isn't it?
Half of our job is to anticipate what people are going to say in response to what has been said. But it makes me wonder, since you are, you know, quite often ripping things pretty ruthlessly, do you encounter haters? Are there like your movie sucks lifetime haters who just follow you around and are like, I cannot believe that you ripped on Paddington Bear 2 or whatever it is? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, is that a thing for you?
Yeah, there's definitely some there's definitely like a type. There's definitely like certain forums, and it's weird because they all seem to have like very uniform taste. You know, they love a lot of mainstream things, but then they also love, like, you know, some Winding Refn or some Lynch, and then when I'm critical of those, they're like, oh, how could he? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, there are some pretty dedicated haters out there, but whatever, it comes with the territory. There was one person that left over 1,000 comments on my Kimba review, because on mobile it'll tell you how many comments they've left on your channel or whatever. And so I just watched this happen for a while. I eventually banned them because I was like, I guess this person has mental problems or something. But then they just started doing that on my Your Movie Sucks Facebook page. And it was very weird because I don't think they understood any of the arguments I was making in my video. And then they went on my subreddit and asked people for my address, which isn't out there. But they were like, "Oh, tell me where he lives so I can punch him." It was really weird. But yeah,
Oh my God.
imagine having your entire identity not only defined by Kimba, but defined by the world believing that the Lion King ripped off Kimba. And I've shattered this person's identity by suggesting otherwise.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
There's definitely no way around it. And I love this. I love this line from Charles Kahn, who everybody on the Discord knows. Charles, he's part of the Real Weird Sickos podcast with Tom Videoger and Dojangles. He brings up a quote from somebody involved in wrestling, and I can't remember who, but it comes down to how valuable it is when people hate you. And he said that people who like you will show up when they can, but people who hate you are going to show up every single time.
Mm-hmm.
That is so true with those the people committed to hating you on this. And another guest we had a long time ago, Sean Malone, we talked about Stranger Things. He posted a thing today from one of his videos about the social dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
And the title of his video is "The Social Dilemma is Dangerously Wrong." Well, the comment is this is from Stimpson J Cat, by the way. It's the username. I made it to 9:58. Couldn't take any more of your bullshit. That's it. That's just the comment.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but it just made my day to see this because it was, it's so succinct. He didn't go on 1,000 comment rant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he just said, "No, here's the timestamp." At which I decided I never wanted to listen to you again.
Yeah.
The second. Oh my God.
Yeah,
It's
at the end of the
unbelievable.
day, any video content that exists on YouTube is an art form, and I'm criticizing other art forms, so it makes sense that people would criticize the art that I'm putting out there. Yeah, as long, you know, I prefer more constructive criticism. It's usually not that, but what can you do?
No, it very rarely is that. Your wrestler quote or whatever actually really reminded me of a moment in Private Parts, the Howard Stern movie from way back when, where that was the whole thing with Howard Stern, I guess. You know, at least they portrayed it that way in the film, where all of these people just hated Howard Stern and could not stop listening to him because they wanted to see what he was going to say next so they could be mad about it. And like, what an interesting situation that is. But people are weird, man.
Morton Downey Jr. Was that kind of Howard Stern before Howard Stern. And he did the same sort of thing, where everybody knew that it was crazy garbage TV, you know, before Jerry Springer and shows like that. Morton Downey Jr. was doing that same thing, and it worked. I mean, he had a very successful career where I think most of the people who watched him did it for that, because he was the heel, you know, and that's the language that Charles would put it in, because he's talking about wrestling. There's an art to being a heel, and there are great heels that deliver a fair bit of entertainment to the people who hate them. It's a unique thing. But you do see this with people like Movie Bob, where there are people who are going to criticize every single Movie Bob tweet. They should. Movie Bob sucks. But there are a lot of people they could be replying to on Twitter, but no, they choose Movie Bob. He's an easy target.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is Nikocado Avocado is the new Howard Stern.
Ah.
Oh, hey.
That's a better comp, I think. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I think that's a much better comp. I only know who Movie Bob is from people making fun of his tweets. I don't know him otherwise. I've never seen one of his videos.
He used
to
he used to review on the Escapist magazine, so with like zero punctuation and Yahtzee or whatever.
Then he went off on his own, didn't he? But he posted this picture of, I think it was Mountain Dew marinated chicken.
Oh,
that he made. This is like 2017. And at that point, you are irredeemable once you post that. It's over. It doesn't matter what you do. There's nothing that can come out of his mouth or show up on his Twitter account that I can take seriously after that Mountain Dew chicken abomination.
That is pretty good. It's pretty funny.
The culinary arts, the culinary wizardry of Movie Bob.
Yeah. Not even Mr. Avocado has eaten something so disgusting.
Mr. Avocado. It sounds like a children's book character. Hello, Mr. Avocado.
Yeah.
Maybe that's his next move, is making a children's book.
Keep him away from the kids. That's my only
so.
my only qualifier here.
Oh, man.
You know, the Suzuki violin method has been famous for so many decades. Maybe he channels it into that, and we have the avocado violin method. Because he was quite good. He was very, very good.
People act like he lost the ability to play
it is.
violin. I don't know if that's the case. He just got fast.
It's still there. It's still there. It's just harder to keep those strings clean when your fingertips are just caked
flaming hot
in
Cheeto
flaming
dust.
hot Cheeto dust.
Mhm.
What a well, here's a question that I really want to know from you, Adam. What is a movie that sucks that you love?
Damn. I don't know. Well, there's parts of movies that suck that I love. I don't know if I would say something sucks if I love it. So like Kung Pao, there's some cringe moments and some amazing moments. I love that film, even though there's parts where I'm like, that doesn't really work. And I can understand why it would irritate other people, sort of thing. Sucks, but I love. Okay, well then, let's think of like so bad that it's good. So like Fateful Findings, like a Neil Breen film, those are sucks that I love. Amazing Spider-Man 2, that movie sucks, but I love making fun of it, sort of thing. There's Jupiter Ascending, like I like real pieces of trash sometimes. Sometimes you just need a good drunk movie where you got people over and you don't care if somebody's talking over it, because that's the point, is you want to yell over top of it,
Right. Yeah. Well, speaking of over the top, that's Matt's favorite movie that sucks that he loves. Over the Top with Sylvester Stallone.
That's right.
Not his number one film of all time.
Never seen it.
I
never seen it.
Should I watch it?
Oh man. Dude.
Yeah, I'm so fascinated by the entire process, and I should spend some time reading about the origin on it, because somebody at some point pitched a script and said, "Gotta have this movie where a man uses arm wrestling and trucking as a conduit to win back the love of his son."
That's pretty cool. I see the poster. It's got arm wrestling and trucking.
Like, let's pay for this. Yeah.
I'll watch this.
Yes, it does.
It really did make a difference. I mean, I thought from that movie that Las Vegas looked like the coolest place in the world, and that I one day wanted to spend a fair bit of time there, and it did. It actually,
it worked.
Wound up taking me there, and that affected my life. But it's real bad, and there's some questions that people have asked that we'll get to in a little bit that touch on the Neil Breen stuff, that touch on what makes a movie good, and things like watchability. I mean, there are bad movies that are awesome to watch 50 times.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've seen Rocky IV so many times I couldn't even begin to estimate, and that's not a cinematic masterpiece, is it? So I understand it's all subjective, but at the same time, is there something unique to bad movies that actually makes them susceptible to rewatching?
Yeah, I like things that are interesting. I like things that are different. If I watch a film, my ideal experience is to watch something that I haven't seen before. A lot of bad movies offer that experience. A lot of amazing movies offer that experience. And then there's just a lot of stuff that's middle of the road factory nonsense that, I'm not going to see House of Gucci in theaters. It's probably just a bunch of things I've already seen with some cringe Joker in it or something. Like, I don't know. Yeah, my least desirable film experience is to watch a film that I feel like I've already seen before. I just want to see new things. What's the point if I can imagine it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Well, Matt, before we get on to, do you want to go to questions now? Do you have something before we go to our patrons?
Yeah, I actually do. So I can't even remember when we started this, but it was a long, long time ago. Isaac and the Baby Gang asked a question that has become a recurring theme in the questions for guests. He asked somebody, this is like 70 episodes ago, what is your fursona? Now, we've never actually had a guest on who had a real fursona. Not once.
Shame.
It seems like this time we might have one. And so I want to start this by us asking, what is your fursona?
It's a horse. Just imagine the exact same person you're looking at right now, but a horse. It's not some wild, crazy, like magic powers, I can fly and 20 different colors thing. It's pretty basic. It's, same shit.
So a realistic looking horse, not like a purple one.
I mean, what's realistic? If it's already like an anthro horse anyway, like what is realism anymore?
True. How did that develop? Because this was when we told Discord and Baby Gang and all those people that our next episode would be with you. A couple people mentioned this. They're like,
but it is like an interesting factoid that, you know, people are curious about things that they don't really know much about. Most people aren't really exposed to this sort of thing, so naturally people would have some questions. It would be a, you know, kind of a memeable thing about me, you know. Have
you done any videos in the fursona?
I mean, you could say that all of my videos were done in the fursona. It's mostly just me behind a microphone without showing my face, right? So like it depends how you want to define that. It's just like an extension of myself, really. It's not like a character that I don't get into character and have an on-off switch. It's just, this is like a representation of myself, an expression of myself, and in the same way that my persona of me reviewing movies is, in the same way that my persona of me singing my songs is. It's just another part of myself. So it's, there's no character to it, really.
That's certainly the most complete answer. And the most thought that anybody's had on it, right? Because everybody else is like, I've got 8 seconds to pick an animal. And that sometimes can go really well, and sometimes it just doesn't.
Yeah.
So that's that's cool. And the last bit on that, how did you said it's an extension of your personality. How did you choose? I mean, how did it occur to you that this representation is going to be a horse as opposed to something else?
It seemed like kind of a no-brainer. In terms of it correlating with just my own feelings on it, you know, like it's human beings, whether intentionally or not, we create psychological associations for different animals. We assign different emotional or behavioral or social attributes to them, regardless of whether or not they actually apply in any sort of objective sense. So you have examples like blind as a bat, quiet as a mouse, sly as a fox. We consider pigs to be gluttonous, even though they may or may not be. But we have those associations. We say, like, you're food animals, you're blah, 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 blah. And those are imprinted on our brains at like pretty early ages, you know, like toddlers, or like the cow goes moo, blah, blah, blah. Like, so that stuff's already like there and ingrained on us. And so the associations, you know, the parts of my brain that light up when I think of myself also light up with that particular animal as opposed to others. You know, I like helping other people. Horses are kind of like a companion animal. I don't consider myself to be like a carnivore predator species or anything, in personality or diet, really. I like a lot of vegetables. I'm not like I don't I don't consider myself to be like a big, strong sort of thing. You know, I'm tall, I'm lanky, I've got I got nice hair. I got a good mane, so I don't know. It's always, everything just fits in terms of like every way you could describe that animal as opposed to other animals, right?
Mm-hmm. Do you tell people your height in hands?
In hands?
Because that would be awesome. That would be awesome if like on your driver's license,
is that a thing with
your
horses?
height in hands. Yeah, that's how you measure horses.
Oh, I didn't know that.
What the? Is it like sideways hand or lengthwise?
No, it's a unit. So like my mom's horse is, well, it's on the cusp. There's a certain point at which a horse is small enough to become a pony. But yeah, you measure at the withers. You measure at the withers, and there's a neat stick that vets used to use for this. It's kind of like a yardstick with an angle thing on it to measure right at the withers. And
I should get one.
Get it in hands. So a horse will be like, a big horse will be like 16, 17 hands.
Wow.
17 hands.
But anyway, yeah, it seems like you got to get your height. You got to get your height in hands.
Yeah.
So that
I got to work on that.
That everybody knows that.
Maybe we could convert feet to hands using Google.
I want to see this.
Oh
stick.
yeah, there's got to be.
Let's see.
I didn't know about any of this.
I could remember what it's called.
This is fascinating.
Okay. Well, it says that I'm 18.5 hands.
That seems about right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that a lot? Is that a lot of hands?
Maybe you should convert to feet.
It would be a lot for a horse since they measure to that. They don't go to the very top. So like when they measure a horse, it's not, to like the tip of the highest ear.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's it's posted a screenshot.
That's really funny.
The episode chat. They're videos.
It's weird that there would be like a specific unit
stick
of measurement that's just associated with horse height. What else do you use hands
I think
for?
It's old. I've never heard it applied to anything else. I wonder if other animals are measured in hands.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Andy says each hand equals 4 inches. Yeah, that seemed about right. I didn't realize it was exactly 4. I thought it was about 4. I didn't want to mislead. But yeah, so I guess you could just divide, the feet by 0.33 and get it in hands.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a bunch of questions here, and I want to elide right into them. The first one is from Sheep. I don't know how many hands tall Sheep is, but she asks if you think a movie's core ingredient for being good is rewatch value.
I mean, that's certainly one of them, yeah. But you can think a movie is amazing and never want to watch it again. There's some really depressing movies out there that you might not really want to go back to, but they're still great. Rewatch value does add a lot. My favorite movies are ones that can provide entirely different experiences on rewatches, depending on, like what point of your life you're at, or depending on how you interpret a scene or your experiences, or just the amount of visual or even thematic information to soak up about a film that you might not have noticed on the first time. Those are my favorite movies. Not to say that if something fits that mold, then I'm automatically going to like it, but my top movies do seem to fit that mold. Yeah, so it's one of the ingredients. I would never say that it's like a necessary one or that it's the main one, I guess.
Yeah, I wonder how, if there's like this character slider where you have these points to allocate.
I'll just say Requiem for a Dream was something I never wanted to watch a second time. I was like,
that's great.
I'm good.
But you liked it a lot?
What?
You liked it, Kevin?
Requiem for a Dream?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was incredible, and then it was like, I'm good on that. I don't need to see that twice.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was a really interesting question. Made me think of the things that I've watched over and over, and the ones that I really liked and never saw again. I'm going to ask. I'm going to pull a few from the Kino Corner, because we want to bias these questions a little bit toward the people who are into the movies and the filmmaking and all of that stuff. First one, quickie. What movies do you think would be nominated for Best Picture this year? I think that's super interesting, given how things have changed on theatrical releases, and like, all the COVID stuff has messed with timing on films being released. So where are we at?
Okay, well, I gotta remember what's been out this year. I think Spencer will get a Best Actress nomination, probably also a Best Picture nomination, depending on how many movies they have for Best Picture. I don't know. They should probably just do 10 per year, but I don't know. They're not. I think they did like 8 or 9 last year. I don't remember. French Dispatch will probably get a nomination. Let's see. What else came out this year? There's a bunch of stuff. Red Rocket would be a great nomination. I don't know if they'll actually do it. They've nominated Sean Baker's movies before. Let's see. What else we got this year? 21 movies. Because if I see... Oh, oops. I got to look for... I'm gonna see if I... Oh, yeah, for sure. Sorry. I looked up someone else's list, if Variety.com, and I'm just seeing what I agree with. It's just reminding me what came out in the year. Belfast, there's a lot of speculation that will get a nomination for sure. That's the new Kenneth Branagh. It's very... it seems very... what's the word? It won the audience award at TIFF. That doesn't mean it's good. It means a lot of people... It's a crowd pleaser, let's say that. Okay. And then The Power of the Dog, that one was on Netflix. That'll probably get that'll probably get a Best Picture nomination. If not, it'll get some sort of nomination. And also, the Oscars are trying to be like inclusive too. That's a female director, so I think that increases its chances a little bit. It's also a great movie. And then what else we got here? Let's see what else came out. I don't know if Dune's going to get a Best Picture nom. That would be weird. Some of these websites are listing King Richard. I don't know if I'm going to see that. I don't know if that would get a nomination, honestly. I think that's speculative. Licorice Pizza, maybe. That's not really out yet, but people love Paul Thomas Anderson, and apparently it's a really good one. Oh, yeah. New Coen, not brothers, because it's just one of them, but a new Coen movie is coming out. The Tragedy of Macbeth. That might get a nomination. A lot of these movies are strategically released in the last couple months of the year, just so the Oscars remember that they came out, because the Academy voters have a very short attention span. If something comes out earlier in the year, they forget that it came out that year. So a lot of movies will strategically try to have campaigns and the buzz close to the end of the year. Yeah, Coda, that might happen. It won the audience award at Sundance, and it's a very it was good, but also like unbearably sappy. Like, I have very mixed feelings on it. Like, yeah, it's about a girl with a deaf family who wants to become like a singer, sort of thing. It's like, it's really sappy, but yeah, who knows what else? There's probably some other ones I'm not thinking of, but those are some of the ones. Titan was great. I'd be surprised if that even got like it might get Best Foreign Language, but I think it's too cool for the Oscars, honestly. Anyway,
which Coen brother dropped out and why? Sorry, Matt. It was
no. They
Kino says
they credit each other equally for both of those. Maybe it's for their films.
Oh, okay.
So I think Joel Coen's doing the film, and then Ethan
retired.
I don't know. Maybe he never did anything in the first place. Maybe it was all Joel. We'll find out if the movie's like great. Then we might have to start questioning how much the other Coen was really involved.
Well, that's kind of like the classic thing between the South Park guys, where it's like Trey Parker does 99% of the work and Matt Stone's just kind of around to give him the thumbs up every now and then.
Yeah. Bounce ideas off.
We're about to find out who's Jordan and who's Pippin.
Yeah.
Right.
And then when do the nominations come out on the calendar? I forget.
Oh, I don't remember. My favorite movie of the year right now is a documentary called Listening to Kenny G, and that'll be out this month on HBO Max. I saw it at TIFF, but yeah, check that one out. It's really great.
Really?
Yeah, wow. It was really, really funny and just awesome. It was just very thought-provoking and insightful and hilarious throughout. Yeah.
All about Kenny G?
Listening to Kenny G is the documentary name.
Oh, listening to Kenny G, but it's not about Kenny G.
It is about Kenny G, but it's also mostly about people's reactions to Kenny G and its implications on music and jazz and art criticism and culture. And it talks about so much, and it's really funny throughout. There's a lot of character to it. It's really well made.
All right, cool.
I think he's a scratch golfer, and I've got to Google this to see.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Oh God, boy. I hope part of me wants to make this up because that would be great.
That's so random.
He has a handicap of 0.6. Yeah. I don't know why I remember that, but yeah, he's a legitimate golfer.
Yeah.
Huh.
So weird.
Next one is actually for me because I forgot to ask you an hour ago. You mentioned when you were talking about genres, the genre of the superhero stuff. I just really quickly wanted to ask you, what genre do you think is on the way up, and what's one that's on the way down?
Depends what you mean by on the way up and on the way down, because what I said about A24 is like, we're getting a lot of new and interesting horror movies right now. Are they making as much money as like Saw and Paranormal Activity did? No. So it depends what you mean by on the way up, right? So there is like a cultural want for that. These new A24 type weird horror movies, like there's a market for it. But it's probably not going to rock the culture as much as like earlier generations of crap formulated horror movies, you know? So again, I guess it just comes down to like, what is success? You know, like, are we the target demographic? Not really, I guess, you know? Hopefully, you know, here's one. Korean movies are on the way up. People are paying attention to Korean cinema more than ever before. And there's no shortage of great Korean directors. Parasite, and now Squid Game. And hopefully the next Bong Joon-ho film or Chan-wook Park film will get even much more mainstream attention because of it'll just be able to write off the success of those other properties.
Mm-hmm.
Or even, there's even more directors from Korea that I love. Some of them, their names are escaping me, but.
Well, it's nice to talk about good films, but we need to spend a few minutes on bad films. Mm-hmm. There are a few questions that are really interlocked. So, you know, he's a film student and has done some very, very good work. He won a little YouTube film festival with an Eraserhead offshoot a couple months ago. But he launches us into this little discussion about So Bad It's Good. And he says, what do you think the qualities are that make a real legitimate So Bad It's Good filmmaker? So his question really is, are the Neil Breens born, or can they be made?
I mean, I'm going to give a complicated answer again. It depends on how you define. Like, I'm kind of a determinist anyway. Like, I don't believe that anything's really, you know, like, we're all a product of our environment. So, I guess what you're trying to ask is, you know, like, can one be manufactured in a way where someone's trying to make a so bad that it's good movie? Kind of. Like, you could say that Kung Pao was one of those. Really, and I like Kung Pao a lot. But in some essence, it's also like there's a self-awareness to it. Like, you know, like a movie like that, or even like Black Dynamite, it's like you can consider those parody movies instead. I think what makes like a true Neil Breen level So Bad That It's Good filmmaker is just how genuine they are. And that's why Tommy Wiseau has one hit, and despite many attempts to recreate that success, has not done it since. That's why James Wynn, the director of Birdemic, has one hit, and despite many attempts, has never been able to replicate that. It's because they became in on the joke. You've just made something that's completely worthless. So unfortunately, that's happened with many directors, and what makes Neil Breen so special is that he has not been tainted. He has not been changed by other people telling him that his films are bad. And maybe in some subtle ways he has. He was self-conscious about like certain aspects of his delude himself in ways that other directors might not be able to, because his films are so complicated, and there's obviously a lot going into them thematically that he thinks works really well, that might not work really well, that might not be as clear to the audience, but they're so complicated, and he's just continuing to make masterpieces. So I'm happy about that.
Heard this before, between kind of accidentally making something that's funny and then trying to purposefully make something that's funny. Those are way different things. And you're right. One can work really well. The other one, when you're self-aware of it, can just be, like you said, unwatchable. It's like not even fun to see it. It's just garbage.
Yeah.
Well, Maple asks about another director who's suspect in terms of quality. And by the way, Maple, you know, we talk about just doing stuff, making videos, doing your art. Maple is like 6 years old. He's not working on a video that's going to be like 2 hours long. It's already over an hour, and he'll post a screenshot of the editing on this. And it's just intricate. I mean, the amount of time spent on this, and man, Maple's got school.
Mm-hmm.
He's got stuff to do, and he's still grinding late at night on this. Be like Maple. Make your thing. We say this all the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just wanted to shout out Maple before his question here. He wants to know if you're talking to Derek Savage or no.
Well, he did a copyright tirade and was illegitimately claiming a bunch of my friends, and then he came out on video saying that I would just ask Adam. Adam knows that I'm a good guy. He supports me, and I know what and yeah, he threw me out there and pretended like I would support him on this, which I can't, and I don't, because not only does he not understand fair use, it's just unethical, and he shouldn't have dragged me into that. And so after my name came out there, I made a video called Cool Cat Learns Fair Use, where I very politely explained how fair use works to Derek and anybody who might be confused, and why his arguments are wrong. And then he blocked me, and then years later unblocked me, only to get me to promote his newest film for free, and then I blocked him.
And on. So it's one of those things where, you can get into it, go down the rabbit hole, and it's not going to be no, it's one of those sagas that will end when he ends. Yeah. Barring that, it's going to go on. Sheep had another one that's real good, because I watched your 13 Reasons Why video. How do you feel about completely reshaping the 13 Reasons Why fan base?
Did I? Or is that a suggestion? How do I feel about having done it, or how do I feel about wanting to do it, or something?
Sheep says it's true. So
less passionate about it as the show went along. And then the people watching it, ironically, became more passionate about it because the show just got crazier. So I don't know if I necessarily am responsible for that, but that's sort of why it happened, I guess.
Is that show over now? I guess
I did watch
it all, but I remember so little of it. I didn't know if it resolved in such a way that it wouldn't ever have another season.
It's supposed to be over. I mean, the first season resolved in such a way that you shouldn't have another season, but they kept going.
That's true. Yeah.
But
that is often the case.
Yeah.
It
was a very
opinion.
Twin Peaks kind of thing, isn't it? Where the point of the show, the big reveal happens, and then you continue to make the show. But how many seasons did they have of 13 Reasons Why? Was
4.
it 3 or 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
And 4 was
it
just
didn't
nonsense.
Stop. It didn't have that.
It was so funny.
It was convoluted, but it didn't drop off the way, when you find out who killed Laura Palmer. Was that right? Is that the name?
Yeah.
In Twin Peaks?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you find that out, it's like, now what do you do with this show? Well, it's kind of over after that. But 13 Reasons Why kept going on with 3 seasons more of more reasons, 14, 15, and 16, I guess. Why didn't it just die when season 1 was over?
Money. It was too successful. It was a big hit.
So they just forced it through?
Yeah, they were. I mean, it used to be about the 13 Reasons Why. It was about Hannah Baker, and a girl who committed Minecraft or whatever. If I say the real word, you could get demonetized. I'm looking out for you.
Yeah. No.
So
Minecraft.
It was about. That's what the show was about. And then after, they're like, let's just keep following these kids around for no reason. So yeah, it's completely for season 2. They had her show up as a ghost to pretend like it was still about her, and then season 3 they just forgot about her, and it was like, now this isn't even about Hannah anymore.
Riverdale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, Kino has a real basic one. Basic to our discussion. What's your definition of Kino?
I don't know if that's like a term I ever use in my vocabulary, so I don't know if I want to define it.
Is there a reason? Well, that's interesting on its own. Why don't you use
I don't know. I don't need it to describe anything. So like, I don't know what Kino is supposed to be, like top tier film, just like true, is that what it's supposed to mean? I just never.
The Kino Corner says yes. Okay. That's an acceptable way to put it. I was hoping that you would have this super clear definition, because I've always wondered what it is, if it has more to do with the aesthetic.
Use Kino as a word, not because I detest it, but because there's, other ways to describe great films, I guess. My cream of the crop.
Well,
Cream
of the crop.
Ooh, the cream
I'm
of
just
the
imagining
crop.
you being in a.
That's a Macho Man thing. I'm going back to wrestling again. Do you know
Why
what I'm
not?
talking about? That you gotta see that clip of Macho Man with like the little creamer. Oh my god, it's so funny.
Oh, I have seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Well, the last question we've got is going to force you to at least address the word Kino, if not use it in your answer.
Sure.
This is from Ramadan Steve. Is Son of the Mask Kino?
I'm sure. I was about to say I'm sure to someone it is. I'm not sure if that would ever be true, honestly. There's I don't know if anybody thinks Son of the Mask is Kino. I don't think a single person thinks that.
We've got yeses in episode chat.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. This is a movie that I'm not sure I would even want to check out to make fun of it.
You haven't seen it?
No, I don't know. I don't want
okay.
to. Should I?
No,
Should I
no,
watch
me
it?
either.
Should I watch list this?
I haven't seen it. I
I'll
don't
put
know.
it on my
No, no.
watch list.
That repulsion should
But
make
like
it
I
Kino.
said, I mean, I prefer bad earnest movies. This is just a bad factory kids comedy movie anyway, where it's like you can't even make the argument that they were really trying.
Yeah. Is there any world in which this becomes like a series for you, though, in which you extract the son of the masks of the world and
No.
for almost no reason we do a video on it?
No.
No.
Maybe
That's not interesting.
a best case scenario would be like we do a commentary recording on it. But even then, I don't know if this is up my alley for that. I prefer to
Right.
talk about movies
Okay.
that are more interesting. I don't know, that are more earnest or that think that they're creating something special.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, on that note, then I really want to end with imploring you to watching the most earnest film of all time. It's called Over the Top.
Yep, I watch listed it.
Over the Top is Kino. That's if you take one
yeah.
thing away from this episode, it's that Over the Top is Kino.
Yeah, I think part of the reason I
And-
don't use that word is because I only ever hear it in ironic context. I don't often hear people saying that something's Kino unless they're just shit posting, right?
Well, I want to follow up on this, whenever you do get to time to get to it on your watch list. I'm not imploring you in any way
Mhm.
to make a video on it because that's not your brand. It's not your style, but maybe shoot me a DM, a tweet, some sort of acknowledgement would be great because it it is like near and dear to Matt and I a little bit. I literally gifted him a hat
Mhm.
from the movie, the
Hey.
movie that Lincoln Hawk wears in that the hat that he wears in the movie, Matt owns because of me as a birthday present.
Yes. It's a perfect replica of it. But by the way, when you say Lincoln Hawk, I have to point out that he's only Lincoln Hawk for half the movie. Halfway into the movie, his name changes
Oh.
between Hawk and Hawks,
Oh,
and nobody really noticed or said anything about it. So
I'll watch a
Forgot
trailer for
about
this
that.
as soon as we're done.
Does it start off with the S and then lose the S, or the other way around?
I think he gets the S once he goes to Vegas and there's an announcer and his name is on the betting board and things like that. I think he becomes Hawks
He
and
gains an
he
S.
starts the movie.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think he gets the S, but I might be wrong.
He gains, maybe it's like Super Saiyan.
Oh.
He gains the S. It gives him more power. I don't know. It could be a lot more intelligent than you're giving it credit for.
It means something.
I'm sure it does. It does. It signifies his power and his ascent to
Yes.
Las Vegas, to the arm wrestling.
That's right.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing your experience with Over the Top. But until then, Adam, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. I think it was a long time coming. Like I said, I've been watching your videos for years. I don't know how long at this point, but a very long time. And I've enjoyed them immensely. So thank you for doing what you do. Keep continuing to do it because it's wildly entertaining.
Thank you so much.
And thanks again for making the time to come on the Create Unknown.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to plug one last thing. I actually have a mukbang channel. It's called Your Mukbang Sucks.
All right. There you go.
I do,
Check it out.
because I
Check
was
out-
like, why am I eating
Check it out.
because I was like, why am I eating on break in my streams and not monetizing it? So yeah, that's the new thing. I'm not going to get fat
Amazing.
doing it. I'm just,
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
Mukbang
Do you
doesn't
really think
necessarily require you to be gorgeous. It's literally just eating
have a
and
feeder in
streaming.
your
It's
life?
just conversation and eating. So I eat normal sized meals.
Do you have a
I
feeder?
eat healthy food, and I
Mm.
just say a couple things.
Somebody's going to feed you. Somebody's going to feed you.
I'm not into it.
Oh, no. It sounded like a threat.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's going to feed you.
Yeah, what's your address so I can come feed you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, check out all of Adam's stuff. We will have links below. So if you don't remember it, just click the links and we'll link to everything.
Click
And
on the
until
20
then,
links.
we'll have 20 links for you because he's a very prolific guy. We have Weird Paul joining us next week.
Yep.
Until
It's going to
then,
be fun.
we'll see you, Space Cowboys.
Thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. We make this show with the support of our patrons. 100% goes directly to keeping episodes going every week. Thank you to the Tots and Dumpster crew who save tiny little lives every month. And thank you to our grizzled, battle-hardened child infantry. Jen Mafasanti, Kevin Menard, Mikhail Steinke, Risebread, Sean Malone, Triple Question Mark, Ryan, Kamikaze, Maria, Marco, Sheep, Tom Videogre, Jelksies, and Dan the Latch. And a tremendous shout out to our elite Baby Gang commanders. Linus and Trev's Dead, Boromir, Bot Dogs, Chinchilla, Isaac, Conrad, James, Andrew, Jeff Davis, Patrick Pister, Baseweight, Monahim, Dojangles, and Zero. Again, you are the elite. Thank you as well to our indentured servants, producer-editor Ben Webster and producer Dan Yosua. And thanks to Baseweight for use of the Created in the Unknown song for our opening theme, and to Electro Voice for giving us mics to sound good on top of it. The Create Unknown is an Unknown Media production in partnership with Studio 71.